Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have had your lunch if you are based here in Malaysia. But if you are based anywhere else in the world, I wish you a warm welcome to Rejuvenate Edition 3. We have a very special guest. I mean, all our guests are special, obviously. But today, and this segment especially is one that I'm really looking forward to because this is a boy who literally took action when the time calls for it without anyone really asking for it, but he has taken action with a group of friends to create something so wonderful that all Malaysians were talking about it about a month ago. None other than Sidharrth Naggapan, co-founder of Sambal SOS. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So just to give a quick introduction of Siddharth, he is a computer science student currently, who is obviously the co-founder of a platform that crowdsources aid data across the nation. At the time when we released his profile, it was about close to 26,000 users. And I do understand from a short conversation we had off air, it has already hit about close to 30 to 32,000 of users and whatnot. And obviously, it has gone viral on a national level here in Malaysia. I will leave it to him to explain a little bit more in terms of what the app does. But uh, as a person, as a kid, he is obviously interested in full stack development and deep learning and the harmony between the two. So we're gonna touch upon that a little bit as well in terms of what he's doing. But Siddharth, once again, warm welcome. Please do explain to us uh, a little bit about Sambal SOS. But before you get into that, perhaps just a quick introduction about yourself.
I'm Siddharth. Am one of the co-founders of Sambal SOS. We released it, I think, early last month, early July, and it has been around, I think, close to 2 months already since we went into the production environment. I am currently still a computer science student, and both my friends, when we worked on the app, we were all students, and we did it over our semester break. So we built the app over our semester break, and then we released it. Um, so a bit about what Sambal SOS does and what it's about. It's basically, as Andrew mentioned, it's a data crowdsourcing platform. So the main motivation behind it was when we were scrolling Twitter, and then we were seeing a bunch of MPs and other organizations like 99 Speed Mart. They were sending out their own hotlines. There were hotlines and WhatsApp numbers saying that if you or you know someone who needs help, then just send their details to this number, and we will aggregate and go help them. But it's a good initiative. But the problem was everyone was doing it. Everyone was collecting their own data, and that was a bit. It wasn't centralized, and if only a few organizations and people could help, it wasn't very timely and actionable. So we thought that what if ordinary people who live nearby, can see these incidents, and then just go and help almost immediately, as soon as possible. So we thought that if we can build this sort of crowdsourcing platform where people themselves can report these SOS, and then those nearby can just see it on a map and just see people within MCO radius or something, and then go and help as soon as possible. So putting all the data onto one map sort of fixes this. We hope it will fix the centralization problem when we first released, and that I think that is the primary motivation behind Sambal SOS.
So you mentioned you have got two other friends that started off this thing with you on a break semester. Semester break, sorry. Yeah, I know you're 19. How old are the other two?
The other two, I think one is 20 and 20, both are 20.
19 and 20 getting to work on this when the adults couldn't figure out how to do this? Amazing.
It wasn't.
So I just want to put this into perspective, right? Did you just one day the three of you sat around and then decided to do something, or was this? I don't know. I suppose, how long did it take from conceptualizing it as an idea in your head and actually getting to work on it?
From the inception of the idea to release to production, I mean, when everyone started using it, was around 4 days.
4 days.
I mean, when it first came out, it had a bunch of standard errors. When you use these apps and all, random bugs here and there, this doesn't work, that doesn't work.
Correct.
For it to actually become stable, that took around a week to two. But we got out the proof of concept in actually just 2 days, and the full app in around 4 days, and we reached a sort of stable, I hope, in around 1.5 weeks or so.
I got to ask you this, Siddharth. How much did the three of you spend on building this app?
Okay, that's actually one of the questions we got. Okay, here's the thing. When we first released on as a beta version, beta is when only a certain group of people can test the app. So we released it to Malaysian developers through the developer Kaki Facebook group in Malaysia. So most Malaysian developers are there. So we posted it there. We have this app. This is the beta version. Go test it out. And when we released beta, everything was running on the free version. We did put in we had some plans that we can put in this much to just get it up and running. But we still didn't have a concrete plan of how we're going to fund the app. But the minute we posted on Developer Kaki, and people actually started testing out the app, and they sort of figured out the concept behind it. Immediately we got a bunch of messages saying that we want to help, I want to sponsor, how can I help? So many people, so much support from across Malaysia, Malaysian developers especially. They willing to offer help. So I think one gentleman, he offered to pay for Google Maps at the start and also host our backend infrastructure. And he's still doing it now. To this day, he's still hosting our backend.
When you say pay for Google Maps and all that, maybe perhaps for our audiences who are not very familiar with it, could you just give us a rough explanation or paint us a picture of what exactly are you paying?
Okay, so the Google Maps, when you load the page, or when you load the sambalsauce.com and you log in, the first thing you see is the map, the homepage, there's the map there. The thing is, the price of Google Maps actually, it rises faster than Bitcoin. These guys really, it's expensive. So every time the page loads, Google charges us something. So it's like a very minor amount, like a very few cents only. And they have like a bunch of quota limits that you can buy a package in bulk or something. So every time the page loads, essentially, we're actually paying something. You charge the credits because the map is actually quite powerful when you zoom and then you see landmarks. It's actually quite computationally heavy for Google itself, so they have to charge for it, understandable. And so there's no way that an individual could pay for it, because at the start, for full transparency, we were spending around, it cost our sponsor around 500 ringgit across 3 days for map itself, just the map.
Okay.
That is because of insane traffic. So then, Google Malaysia, we reached out to a bunch of people, and then Google gave us a bunch of credits. Okay, fine. The map usage for this website, you guys can charge on these credits. And only after you exceed these credits, which are very generous already, only then will we actually charge you guys.
Okay, so just to understand this correctly, at this point in time, Google Malaysia has stepped in to kind of like support this initiative of yours, where they gave you a bunch of credits. So every time the app is used and the Google Map is loaded on, you kind of don't pay anything at this moment.
No.
All right, so that's very generous of Google Malaysia then. Kudos to them. And you also mentioned about an individual that has helped out at the beginning in terms of supporting the back end as well as the early days of using the Google Maps, correct? Fantastic. It is so wonderful to hear a lot of Malaysians, stepping up and not trying to claim credit or be on in the limelight in terms of helping out. And this is just so wonderful. I want to go on next, but I already see a question there from the audience. It's from Samuel Peters asking, why the name Sambal SOS? And also maybe I want to chip in as well. And we spoke about this earlier. I guess that's why you're laughing as well. Is it Sambal SOS? Is it Sambal sauce? Because if you look at the title right above my head and yours, it's where's my sauce? So I would assume, obviously SOS is an international call for help, but your logo there shows that it's like a bottle of ketchup.
Yeah.
Perhaps just walk us through what went on in the minds of the three of you when you started off. And I understand it's also started off as Bendera Putih app. Yeah. So walk us through that, Siddharth.
So as you said, the app was initially called the Bendera Putih app, but not many people actually know this. So because we changed name around a day. That was mainly because we wanted to sustain this longer than just one movement, and we thought that another name was a bit more sustainable, especially in the long run, away from the political connotations of the white flag movement. So the name Sambal Sauce is actually quite interesting because, first of all, we actually haven't reached a consensus on whether it's SOS or sauce, because the name actually came from my friend Cornelius, it's part of the team. So what Cornelius said when we were talking, he just randomly brought this combination of Sambal and SOS. And then my other friend, he whipped up a logo immediately on the spot. So let's just put SOS inside this ketchup bottle, and then that's it for the logo. And it surprisingly worked out because it has a bunch of the wording is interesting, right? It's either SOS, it's a call for help, or it's sauce, which is significant of food, and sambal is a Malaysian delicacy. So when you bring all these words and connotations together, you sort of get something that we ourselves don't understand what it means. So it was catchy. It's catchy, right? Sambal sauce. It's fast and catchy. And so we didn't think twice about it. My friend brought it up. It sounded interesting. It sounded really cool. We called it Sambal SOS. Yeah.
Amazing. This just shows you how creative Malaysians are, and sometimes I really wish that the people who have the powers to be or whatever do look at youths like you to kind of pick your ideas and kind of get into your heads and see what's really working for youths right now, and that's just amazing how creative you guys are. Now, there is another question here that I want to ask, and in fact, an audience have also asked as well. How would you envision Sambal SOS to be in the long term?
Okay.
Perhaps before we visit this question, Siddharth, maybe just walk us through in terms of the app. What does it do? What does someone see besides the Google map, right? What I understand, there's a listing of a food bank. Obviously, there's listing of people seeking help in that sense. Just walk us through that whole process.
Okay, so there's two ways to log in. First of all, you can either log in through Google or Facebook. We started with just Google login, but to allow more people to access the app, we added Facebook authentication also. So once you successfully log in, you will see the homepage. As I mentioned, it's just a map with a bunch of markers on the map. So the marker is either a food bank or it's an SOS report. The SOS is a siren, and then the food bank is just a picture of a food basket. And you can click on a single SOS report or a food bank to see details about it. So if you click on a particular siren on the map, you will see a photo that person uploaded, like a picture in front of the house, a description of what that person needs, or what they're looking for, or what their specific request is. And then two ways to contact them. One is actually their phone number, and which is optional, and the other one is the option to actually visit their location. So you can click on that button, then it will reroute you to Google Maps application, so you can actually drive there or walk there, or go to that person directly. On another tab, we have a list of all the food banks on the platform, so you can just filter and search by location, or just the name of the food bank. The last tab is actually the most important one, to make a report. So let's say you or someone you know or someone you see needs help, with their consent, of course. You can take a picture in front of their house, or it can be a screenshot of a conversation you had with them. So any picture, just so we can verify somehow. You add a description of what's happening, what do you need, what's going on. You add your phone number, completely optional, of course. You add your location, where you are, either your current location, or you can search an address and set a location. And then you click submit. So once that happens, it actually comes to us for approval. So it comes to our database, and then we check. So we look at the photo, we look at the description. If everything looks legitimate, it's not it's not a scam. It's not some kind of spam advertising. Then we approve it, and once we approve it, it appears on a map for other people to see. Every report, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, every report automatically expires in 7 days. So if someone hasn't received help in 7 days, they are required to make the report again. This is to ensure that the information they provide is not in the public domain for too long.
So, Siddharth, I got a couple of questions. I'll probably address the one that is the newest one. Now, when you say you have to make a report again after 7 days, what's the difference between this making a report and the siren one?
The report is the siren. I'm using an interchangeably actually. The report is the siren.
Okay.
SOS.
All right.
SOS report. Yeah.
Okay. Now, back to the earlier portion of your explanation, you say that there are two, so to speak, logins that are available at this point in time, which is one obviously is Google and the other one is Facebook. Why do you need people to log in? So I'm assuming I'm not the one asking for help, but rather I want to look at it and then perhaps provide assistance. Can I not view it as just as a viewer rather than requiring me to put my data, to you, I suppose?
Okay, that's a very valid question. So first of all, I want to address that the Facebook and Google login, only if you read the terms carefully because whenever you go to a website and then you click login with this, login with that, they will have like a terms and conditions page, right? This organization wants access to this. If you look at ours specifically, we only get your email address, not even your name, not even your date of birth, nothing else from your other Facebook profile or nothing, just your email address, just so that we can associate that with your login. And the reason we do this is to prevent unauthorized access on the map. So because loading the map is expensive, right? And so this is to prevent like random people from just spamming the page, reloading it 100 times, or exposing this information to people without we can't authenticate it's an actual person, or to also bots, people that want to scrape the website. It's a bit easier to scrape when there's no login. But these bots are not as smart to actually dynamically log in using Google or Facebook and then get into the app. And the last reason is when you want to make a report, obviously, we need to know that it's coming from a legitimate person. And the best way to do that is that to leave this authentication part to other services like Google and Facebook, because they've already done this. If you're using their service, you're already a verified person, right? So we're just borrowing your email address from them, and that's about it. We don't even know your name, just your email address. Yeah.
It's amazing how you guys have got all this figured out before you even, I mean, when you launched it, right? It's amazing. Now, the other part that I wanted to ask was, you were saying how those that are seeking for help will take pictures of their front of their houses or whatever that is. Have you experienced I guess people not being very comfortable with that, at the end of the day, it's kind of exposed to everyone and anyone.
Okay, so I can answer that because when you're already reporting your location on the map, and then through Google Maps, you can already see sort of a street view. So it's not exactly that the picture in front of the house is exactly a very private detail that people are hiding. We do stop, we have some terms where that photo you upload cannot have a picture of anyone's face inside, cannot have a license plate, cannot have anything that is too closely identifiable to the person rather than the location. So
okay, so just to be clear, that there's location, as in when I click on it, the Google Map loads the drive there now or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there's that option you were talking about where if they want to leave their phone number. So those are the only two things that are in a way closely identifiable to that person.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just off the top of your head, do many of those that seek help are actually posting the photos and their phone numbers on the app?
Okay, so at the start, the first few days, we didn't actually have phone numbers. We didn't collect phone numbers. So like people who wanted to give their phone number, just put it in the description. We didn't actually have a field for it. But then later, due to popular demand, we added it as a separate field. And since then, 99% of people who make a report actually put their phone number because that's actually the best way to reach them. The only time that people don't put the phone number is when you're reporting that someone else needs help. So which means that
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want to put your phone number there. You also don't want their phone number. Yeah.
Out of the 30,000+ users that you have, do you have a breakdown in terms of who are actually seeking help, who are actually providing help?
No. Since that's the difference between us and other platforms, we're only a crowdsourcing platform. So we don't actually have two separate categories for people who want to help and people who need help. I think Waymaker.works is another platform made by Malaysians that sort of does that, connecting people who need help to people who want to help. So that's a separate platform. We don't actually do this connection. We just report it and crowdsource the data. We verify and crowdsource. So we also don't have a way to know who helps who and whether someone has been helped or not. Hence the 1 week restriction on all SOS reports.
I guess that's an important point, right? You do not know whether someone has been helped or not. Is there in your mind where you want to change that system a little bit? Because I suppose, doing it and then not knowing what your end result is kind of,
Yeah.
And I suppose there's also a need for improving it, right? Not just on an interface or a user experience, but also at the end of the day, the collective goal of what Sambal SOS is meant to be.
Yeah, so we did discuss, what are the ways to verify whether a person received help or not. And it wasn't a very straight solution. So one of it was upvoting. So where you could, I think my friend, we talked about this, and then he added this button, upvote. So then the thing is, anyone can log in at any time and just upvote everything. So just upvote this, upvote that. You're really relying on the good Samaritan nature of people to not abuse that system, right? So upvoting was one solution. So whether you help the person or not, then you can just upvote there. Right? This case doesn't exist anymore. You can just upvote it. But we also don't have a way to verify whether these people are genuinely upvoting it because the person has actually been helped already, or because they're just having fun with the system. They want to upvote everything. So it was it wasn't a straight line, and we could not actually do this verification. So we decided to keep it simple and just take it down after a week. I think Kita Jaga is now working on a code system where once you report for help, they'll give you a code, and once you've been helped, then you can sort of verify the codes, and then it will automatically take the report down. So that's more of a peer-to-peer solution for that. But at the moment we don't have such a verification system.
Okay. Now, You've mentioned this thing. Obviously, I've obviously played around with the app and whatnot. I'm not a programmer myself. It does look like a lot of work for three of you. I mean, granted, you got this up and running in 4 days,
Mm.
but is it just the three of you running the show here, or you do you have other friends who have eventually came in and chipped in to help, or
Okay, so at the start it was just the few of us. But then once we released and then people got to know about the app, the number of volunteers just started to go through the roof. And most of the team that's working on maintaining the app right now is actually just students. So students across the world actually. Yeah, our youngest member is actually just in I think Form 3 or Form 4, and he's actually writing code for the actual app. He's helping out with all that. We have another
wow, and
yeah
based in Malaysia.
yeah Form 3 student based in Malaysia.
Fantastic. This is amazing. You're telling me a 15, 16-year-old boy is helping you write codes for the Sambal SOS app right now.
Yeah.
This is a almost entirely a youth movement that you've got right here. That wow, my hats off to you. I've got to applaud you guys for doing this. Seriously, Siddharth, I am very amazed. I'm speechless.
And I think the other few is like one computer science student, Malaysian guy. He's studying in Canada now. He's across the world, different time zone. We actually have meetings where we work on the app together. So it's mainly just students now, across a variety of age groups and across the world. It's not just in the Klang Valley. So one of our members is
Wow.
like in Penang side, Selangor, Canada, and
And these are all obviously they're volunteering their time.
yeah, volunteering different.
Amazing, amazing. Going back to that question, we kind of put on hold, just slightly before this. Now, how would you envision Sambal SOS to be in the long term?
Okay. So currently our main goal is just to maintain it and then verify the reports on a daily basis. Beyond the pandemic, when things stabilize a bit further, we want to focus a bit more on the food banks aspect of the app, as long as we can maintain the app. But this is very much dependent on how long we can financially sustain the app, beyond the term for which the sponsors will last. We haven't thought that far yet, but one of our initial ideas was to focus on a food bank reporting and sort of map the food banks and just keep it for food banks. Because
So
sambal.
I understand the food banks. A lot of them are run by NGOs and whatnot. So are they supporting you in terms of feeding you with information, feeding you with updates and whatnot? And that's how you've been keeping that data fresh, correct?
Okay, so right now data is fresh, but it's not like minute to minute fresh. So we've been working with Reddit Malaysia, one of the Malaysian threads, Reddit Malaysia. I think it's called Al Malaysia. And then these guys are actually working on a solution where they are in real time, daily basis, they're crowdsourcing all the food banks, and they're going to fine-grain detail of what that food bank is offering, what type of food they're offering, whether halal, non-halal, where they are. And if the food bank runs out of food, we will also know about it. So they're sort of working on a hour-to-hour update system where there's a list of food banks that we get have much more detail in them besides just their location. So like a particular food bank may run out of food, in 1 or 2 hours, and we need to be able to show that on the map because it's a bit counterproductive to show the food bank even after they run out of food for that day. So we're working with them to make this data much more real time. And soon the food banks will get much more details also. You can see the type of food, what time they open, what's the opening hours, whether they still have food or not for that day. And so much more details than we have now about the food banks.
Great initiative there. You mentioned earlier about sustaining it is dependent on sponsors, obviously, and one such sponsor is, of course, Google Malaysia. You were saying the credit runs out at the end of the year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, tentatively, I mean, as far as we know, the credits will last around to the end of the year. Yeah.
Of course, our hope is that that the pandemic improves, the situation improves in Malaysia, and people are hopefully not needing to put up the white flag anymore to cry for help. And when that day happens, obviously there is absolutely no use for Sambal SOS in that sense.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys have had that in mind already. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. When the app is no longer used, that's when we sort of know when apps like Kita Jaga and Sambal Sauce are used. That's when we sort of know that things are improving and it's a bit. Yeah, it's actually a good thing. When it's less used, when it hits that stage, it's a very positive thing already. Yeah.
Great. Of course, you have already you are already toying with the idea of moving the focus towards more food bank centric. So that's a good thing, I suppose. Now I'm just gonna read out a question here as well from the audience. It's from Julia. It says here, "Hi Siddharth. Just out of curiosity, what are your own plans? Say 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And she added, "Great initiative, by the way." So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Obviously, I don't mean to be rude, but I obviously don't want to see Sambal SOS in 5 years' time.
Yeah, yes,
that means we are all flourishing. But I want to see Siddharth still doing good work. So what are your plans in 5 years from now? Or where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
I mean, my main plan is to complete my degree, and right now that's my main focus now. 5 years down the line, I hope to be working as a developer in the Malaysian startup ecosystem. I'm quite into all that small communities and teams. Yeah, I haven't thought that far, but I want to be working, as a data scientist in the Malaysian startup ecosystem.
Your parents and family fully supportive of what you're doing now in terms of the time that you're spending on Sambal SOS, the amount of energy and effort that you have put into that. Are they fully supportive of it?
Yes. I mean, my parents were actually an integral part of a lot of advice we got. All three of us, our parents, we had a WhatsApp group actually, and then when we had to make difficult decisions and stuff, we actually used to ask them on that group. And then the parents would actually chip in and say, you guys can try this out, maybe approach the situation a bit differently. Because when it really blew up, it was quite unexpected when we had to handle go for the interviews and then do write-ups of what we did. And our parents were really big advisors in that domain. When we had questions about this, we just used to ask them, and then they gave very useful advice, especially in initial stages of the app.
Kudos to your parents and to Cornelius and is the other guy Pang?
Cornelius is Pang, but the other one is Sean.
Okay. Sean. Yeah. Kudos to all three of your parents. I mean, I'm sure they are super proud of you as well. Friends, what about friends? I mean, do you even have time for friends?
No, I mean, at the time, it was actually a very fun sort of. When we started working on it, it was more of a hackathon project. I think I've said this a few times now, but it's like in hackathons you build something in 3 days and then you discover it. So initially it was like a hackathon project. We did it for fun, and working on it in initial stages, coming up with the designs, coding out the initial the prototypes. That was quite fun because we were doing it as a hobby. We had quite a bit of time and so on. So that was really nice. And we only started to see it as a very serious thing and start to look more long term and look at sustainability aspects once we actually got a bunch of users. And because at the start we didn't think it would actually take off. We thought a few people would use it for a few days, and then eventually, what's the big deal to just die off for that. So once we started seeing traffic beyond which we, even our wildest dreams we anticipated, only then did we start treating this as a bit more of a serious, trying to keep it stable. And the impact it was making sort of motivated us to, no matter what happens, we wanted to sustain this as long as possible. Yeah.
What do you do in your spare time when you're not thinking of Sambal SOS? Do you do the usual thing that kids do these days? Do you play video games,
standard
watch
stuff,
movies, binge on Netflix?
Yeah, all that, all that, all that.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Now, Siddharth, I know that we spoke about 5 years from now, where do you see this going? Of course, we also spoke about where Sambal SOS may eventually lead to in terms of like a food bank aggregator and an iteration of that, perhaps. Would you be doing this full time? What if one day you just have to let it go in a way and say I cannot do this anymore. I've got other things to focus on. Just keeping in mind, of course, you probably may start work, where be it your own startup or if you're working for a company now. How are you going to balance that, or is there a time where the three of you are going to say, okay, that's it for Sambal SOS?
Okay, so the thing is, since the project is targeted as an open source project, it means that all our code is actually available on GitHub. So anyone in the world can actually push and contribute code to the actual app, and we will review each request. So because of that, even if we are not maintaining the app, that pretty much anyone in the volunteer community, other developers, can just use that code and then maintain the app for as long as possible. So everything we do, all the code, our infrastructure plans, everything is out there. We made it public, so to help other people contribute also. So even if it's not us, there will always be someone that can sustain this for as long as it's needed. Yeah, so we sort of set up the groundwork, the initial team set up the groundwork, but since it's out there, just taking the code, deploying it yourself, and then keeping it running is not a very hard thing from now on, because there will always be someone.
This is fantastic. So it's all available on GitHub, and you guys are more than happy for people to chip in and or even take it over. One fine day. Amazing. I've got two last questions. In fact, three, but the first question I want to ask is this. Now, was there a time when you kind of face resistance, or I suppose people coming up to you guys and say, hey, what is this? Why are you doing this? You are degrading the people, or there's no full support for this white flag movement. We do know from press reports that there are certain people that are unhappy with the white flag movement, and they kind of correlate it back to a political propaganda. I mean, have you personally had any experience where you had people come up to you and say, stop this Sambal SOS thing?
Okay, I'd be very honest here. At the start, when we had a lot of internal discussions, and then the political connotations of the whole thing was a bit problematic. But then it sort of appeared to us, why is this hindering this sort of platform? Because at the end of the day, it's just, you're asking for help, whether it's a part of a movement. So whether it's a part of a movement or whether it's a part of anything, it's just asking for help. So the political connotations are a bit unfortunate, and it's one of the reasons we sort of rebranded away from catching on to
Bendera
that.
Putih.
Yeah. So yeah, there was initial resistance, and then there were voices even going as far as to tell us to just take the whole thing down. Why any association at all, even if it's just a help seeking app. But 2 months down the line, I can say that this has sustained long beyond just the movement, and while it may have been inspired by a movement, it currently has nothing to do with the white flag movement. You don't see white flags on the app anymore. It's just ordinary people asking for help, and that's what it was from the very start. At the core level, it was just a platform where you could ask for help, and yeah.
And I guess you sum up the whole spirit of Kita Jaga Kita very well there, Siddharth. It is a call for help, and it's just people wanting to help. It's as simple as that, right? We should keep whatever connotations and propaganda out of the way, and look into the rakyat first before that. Yeah. Any parting thoughts for youths? I mean, as a fellow youth yourself, I'm sure you see the picture in terms of where our education system is, how our youths are. Not everyone is like you, So I guess, what do you have something to share or to say?
I guess if someone has an idea, especially comes to the pandemic or anything, then just go ahead and try it. Try it, put it out there. There's a good chance that it will take off. But I don't think we should be afraid to just try it first. Anything can happen, and that was exactly the case with Sambal sauce. We had no expectations. We just put it out there to see whether people would use it, and that sort of maybe took off. And it started with an idea, and now it's much bigger. So we just want to say that if someone has an idea, go ahead and implement it. But don't worry about the practical implementation or how it's going to scale, because I don't think many people have that sort of plan at the very start itself. Right? You put it out there first, then you figure it out one step at a way as things happen. And throughout the journey of developing and scaling and talking to people and stuff, there were a lot of obstacles along the way, like many roadblocks that almost ended the entire thing. When we ran out of wanting to financially sustain the app, or other connotations of the movement, or there were always the problems are like programming bugs and so on. But as long as the idea and initiative is there, you will find a way. You will find a way. Eventually, you'll find a way. And there are always people to help in the Malaysian developer community. It's always someone, which we've experienced so far. A lot of help. Yeah.
Great. And Siddharth, with that, I would like to say thank you to you on behalf of the Rejuvenate team. It has been a pleasure spending this 45 minutes with you here, and for you taking out time to do this with us as well and share your story. And I hope that it's not just inspiring to Malaysians, but inspiring to all our audiences across the globe as well. And with that, Siddharth, I would like to thank you and your team in Sambal SOS, and as well as I would like to thank your parents again for really giving you the encouragement and I suppose the emotional support. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. And I wish you well and stay safe. So thank you once again, Siddharth. And we hope to hear more good things from you in the coming future.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So ladies and gentlemen, that's Sidharrth Naggapan, co-founder of Sambal SOS. We will be back very shortly with our next guest, Lee Japing. And we will be talking about placemaking and what is placemaking. I'm eager to find out as well. So we will come back again very shortly. And with that, Siddharth, I bid you farewell and take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aru. I am one of the researchers and co-founders at Klima Action Malaysia, which is a climate justice movement here based in Kuala Lumpur. I would like to wish everyone Happy Nationals Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Greetings all, it's Conso Titus here from Melbourne, Australia. Just dropping a short little video message here to my friend Andrew Tai and all his colleagues at Synapse at the Malaysia's premier virtual event solution provider. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan to all of you. Wishing you all a safe, healthy Malaysian Independence Day on the 31st of August. Please take care of each other and enjoy all the Independence Day celebrations. See you soon.
Hello all, this is Craig Langley. I run a global business development agency based near London, and I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hi everyone, my name is Ria Eichmann. I'm a global skills coach and an intercultural trainer based in Brisbane, Australia. I would like to wish you all a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hello everyone, my name is Teddy Swapcheva, CEO at Think Circular and Sustainable and founder at SO, based in Oslo, Norway. I would like to wish you a wonderful national celebration. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Hey everyone, Tyler Chin here, interview coach and founder of Transform Cultures. Just want to stop by and wish all my fellow Malaysians a selamat menyambut Hari Kebangsaan. Stay safe everyone and hope all is well with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan Hassan. I am a transformational life and leadership coach based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I would like to take this opportunity to wish Malaysians everywhere a happy National Day. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan.
Happy National Day, Malaysia. Selamat Hari Kebangsaan. I'm Serena, founder and CEO of Care Bear, a mental health technology startup and social enterprise based here in Hong Kong, where we alleviate depressive symptoms among youth. I hope all of you prosperity and most importantly, good health, and I wish you guys all the best. Bye!